It's definitely been a challenging winter for us exotic gardeners, and a lot of the garden plants, they're definitely look past the best right now. But there's one plant that looks as good as ever, a plant that brings as much in winter as it does in the middle of summer, and you don't even need to have a full-on exotic garden to really appreciate its beauty. That plant is bamboo. Now, I'm aware that bamboo is a plant with a certain reputation, a dangerous invasive plant that will take over your whole garden and not stop there. And the reality is, yes, there is some truth in that, but with careful variety selection and the method that you use to plant the bamboo, it can be a plant that brings so much to your garden without any of these risks. So, for example, if you've got a small garden using a clump in bamboo, yes, it might get pretty big, but at least it's controllable, predictable, you know how big it'll get. And if you want to go for a large bamboo, if you want those really thick canes, then at least use some kind of rising barrier. Do that first, and you've got nothing to worry about later on. But practicalities aside, I think bamboos as a plant need a bit more good press. So today is the 5 reasons why I think this is a plant that belongs in your garden, a plant that brings so much, whether you've got a tropical style garden or just a garden that you want to shine all the way through the year. Reason number 1 then, and this one's important no matter what the size of your garden, most of the bamboos that we can grow here in the UK are fantastic evergreen plants, which means they deliver all year round. Today it's bitterly cold, only just above freezing. You could probably hear me shivering. It was -4 last night, -4 again tonight. But stood here, this beautiful Fagicia robusta Campbell, a clump in bamboo, it looks just as lush and green as it did in the middle of summer. And on this side here, we've got Phylostachys vivax auriculis. This plant brings winter structure, drama and colour like few others can. And rather than like some traditional evergreens, plants that have one aspect or one attribute that looks great in winter, but then they kind of disappear in summer, these are plants that have got the colour of a dogwood, the structure of an evergreen tree, but also the presence in your garden to really add to your summer garden too. The next great thing about bamboos, not only do they deliver this fantastic evergreen display, they're also very tough and hardy too, which means you get this exotic tropical jungle vibe without any of the winter worries. You don't have to mulch these plants, you don't have to bring them inside, wrap them up, fleece them, do anything like that. These are plants that simply deliver. Most of the Phylostachys and Fagicias that we can grow here can take an incredible amount of cold. And I think the only real thing I do in winter, if there is heavy snow when it actually happens, is just knock it off these big Phylostachys, just so the canes don't snap over. But other than that, these are plants that I don't worry about, don't fuss over, I don't do anything to them in winter, but they keep delivering this exotic vibe. And I think after this winter, which has really proven that a lot of supposedly hardy exotics really have their limits, I've needed to wrap some of them, others really don't look great right now. It's fantastic to know that most of the big structural plants in the garden, like these ones here, simply deliver without taking a lot to do it. They really are fantastic, low maintenance, easy plants that give so much. Next up then, the practicalities. Bamboo are an incredibly versatile and adaptable garden plant, and they bring vertical interest like few other plants can. Bamboos can be used for so many different things. They can be used for screening, blocking off a house or view you don't want to see. You can use them as a windbreak, in front of a fence maybe to disguise it, or as a hedge in their own right. You can use these beauties here to form a standalone specimen in your lawn and really add drama to your garden, or they can provide a beautiful lush green backdrop to other summer planting and flowers. They really are an incredibly useful plant when you're designing and putting your garden together. And I think personally, my favourite use of these bamboos is to actually help create garden rooms, help create that garden adventure by slowly restricting the garden at certain points before then opening up and providing a backdrop behind the other exotics. So I use them as a really tall building block for the garden, a plant that brings a lot of structure, a lot of height, and really helps you take advantage of all this unused space in your garden. If you've just got little plants in your garden, it can sometimes look like a nice little display, but if you've got these big tall plants wrapping around you, it suddenly feels like a proper adventure. So bamboos, if you're building a jungle or exotic garden, for me, they definitely have to be there. Some people might be a little bit wary about how fast bamboo grows, but personally, I love them for it. They're a plant that grows incredibly quickly. And if you plant small, which is the way I'd always recommend doing it, these are a plant that can develop into a full-size mature clump in maybe 3, 4 or 5 years. They definitely don't hang about. These are plants that can really bring a dramatic presence to your garden in a lot less time than you might expect. Forget slow growing shrubs and trees that take years and years to mature, these bamboos certainly race to full height as quickly as they possibly can. And not only do they grow quickly year after year, quickly forming the screening, hedge or specimen garden that you want, they also grow incredibly quickly when the new culms come out in spring. I don't know if you know about bamboo, but essentially they send new culms up around late spring, early summer. They come up through the ground and in just a month, 6 weeks, they're full height, just as quick as that. It really is impressive to see. And last summer, when we had that heat wave, you could almost see them growing, racing up towards the sun. The bamboo shooting season is something I look forward to every year, seeing the new bigger culms push up and knowing that they'll be full height in simply a month or so. They really are a very dramatic plant and they bring so much energy to your garden. The first 4 reasons then why you should grow bamboo in your garden are admittedly very practical, logical, fact-based. Yes, they do look great in the middle of winter, and yes, they do so without any hardiness worries. Yes, they're very helpful providing vertical interest, and they don't hang around getting there either. But as a fifth and final factor, I think bamboos just give so much more than the sum of their parts. They're a plant with a real X factor. Yes, they're evergreen, but they're not just static evergreens. They move so much, not just with the seasons, but also with the weather. It only takes a gentle breeze for bamboos to bring so much movement, grace and beauty to your garden. Seeing that sunlight just dapple through the leaves, they really are beautiful. And then you've got the sound element too. And I think it's cheating bamboo to say they're purely useful plants to solve practical issues like screening and dividing. To me, they're so much more than just a building block in your garden. They're a plant that has so much variety, not just in terms of leaf shape, size, but also colour, form. There really are an incredible amount of beautiful bamboos that we can grow here. If you found today's video helpful, then check out the other bamboo videos on my channel. I've got some looking at the differences between clumping and running bamboos, and also some on the varieties I'd really recommend for your UK garden. I hope you found this one helpful. More videos coming very soon. So thank you as always for watching. I'll see you in the next one.